Hello, welcome. It is good to see everyone once again back again. And we're talking about How It All Blew Up by Arvin Amati. Book Depository attacked me, and so I don't have a physical copy to like hold up. But hopefully everyone has read it. While I wait to see people trickling into the chat, I did want to point out that there is not a pick for May because I will be leaving for the wilderness, and I cannot guarantee, because then we'd have like a week to read it, and I would hate to do that to the people. So from May until August, we're gonna resume it at the end of August. So for that period of time, we will be reading. So like from today until that live show, you have to read Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley because I'm interested in it. I think it'll be a fun time. And thrillers are typically messy. So that's all I know is that it's a thriller. So I have faith. It is a newer release, but because I'm like, we have 3 months to read it, I'm hoping that it'll work out for people in their libraries if they can't get it, they don't have the funds at the moment to purchase. So it's an extended period of time. So I don't feel as bad about picking a newer release title. But hello, welcome. We are here to discuss, like I said, How It All Blew Up. This was a reread for me, as I did read this last year, and it is still 5 out of 5 stars. Part of me did wish that it was going to be a little bit longer when I was rereading, because this is so short. I could have lived with it being a little longer, but Mr. Amadi, he did what he needed to do to give us the story. Yes. So from now to August, plenty of time. I don't think that book is very long. I think it's it's longer than How It All Blew Up. I do think that How It All Blew Up is probably going to be the shortest book that we pick, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe someday in the future we'll read something even shorter than How It All Blew Up. But like I said, I give it 5 out of 5 stars. If you're in the chat, you want to let me know how much you rated it, I would love to know, because I've seen some people talk about How It All Blew Up, and I like very few, but the few people I talked to, they seem to enjoy it. So I'm trying to see what the consensus was. I would be very surprised if this was worse for some people than some of the other books we've read. Like for me, I don't think that I could have gotten a worse book than Of Curses and Kisses. I think that's like the low bar by which every book for choices will be measured. You needed more in the internal mess of the friend group. Yeah, I mean 3.5. I'll take it. I'll take 3.5. I do think that a lot of the mess was very internalized, but I also like to think, we didn't ever get an age group for his friends. And so for me, I thought that they were just old enough to where they weren't really invested in making a mess with like the revelation. Like I was happy that Jahan was hurt by it, but I was also happy that everyone else was like recognizing that Amir was a child. And so when you're an adult and a child comes to you with mess, it would be embarrassing for you to get into the mess. And so that's why I appreciate the voicemail that Jahan leaves at the end of the book, because he allowed himself to invest in the mess. And then at the end he said, maybe that was not my finest moment. But I do think that we could have gotten more with the Giovanni and Rocco situation, that we could have gotten some juicier bits from it. 5 out of 5 star, definitely favorite of the year. Oh, teared up at the end. Yeah, if I was an emotional reader, this book could have gotten to me. I didn't quite, but I do remember the first time I read it, I was like, we could have gotten there. 5 stars, you really liked it. You need more of Italy and more of his friend interaction, because I felt like traveling and I missed that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a traveler. I do not really do travels, but I appreciated, like me, I would not be randomly in the airport trying to go. That's not my ministry. But I was happy for Amir. I was happy that Amir was able to do that. So I really did appreciate that for him. I also would have. I think the part for me that I think was the worst aspect of the book the first time I read it, and still to this second time, is the blackmail plot. I don't know. I don't really know um like how, I don't want to say how necessary, or I just don't know how like prevalent that is. I feel like that plot has been used three too many times recently. And so for I would have appreciated it if there was, like, I understood that the blackmail was to, because he was afraid that his parents was not going to accept him, but I almost would have appreciated it if we just removed the blackmail aspect and he still had those same concerns and he still just went through with everything that he did. I also really just wanted more of him and Jackson, because I think that that would have been real. I appreciated their little stolen moments we got, but that was just me. Do I think that Jahan had feelings for Rocco? I just think that Jahan, like, of the people in Italy, like, he was definitely the person who was the most volatile. And so for me, Jahan, like, going that way, it was just like he was like the volatile friend. So I don't even know if like he still had feelings for Rocco. Maybe he did, but I don't think that his, even if he did, I don't think that would have been the only reason he was so upset. I think that Jahan was just a person in the friend group that was looking for the drama in the situations where he could find it, and he was going to use that. And then at the end of the book, he was realizing that it's one thing to, cause mess with people who are your peers, but Amir is like a little, like, he's an adult because he's 18, but he's also a child. So he was, I think that's more what it was. It was like, okay, I can do this with peers, but Amir is like not quite that. But maybe he did have feelings for Rocco. Like, a lot of that plot, like the the friend group, like, who was that? Sarah was saying earlier, like, it wasn't as fleshed out as it could have been, because this really was just the story of Amir and his family, and these were literal side pieces, like literal side characters, and the story, like, he was actual main character syndrome. So I could understand how other people would not enjoy that, because you would want the side characters to feel more alive, and like they were vibrant in the sense that, like, they added texture to a mirror story, but they didn't do much independent of their relationship to Amir. It could have been, but I also understand that with the story and the framing, like with the framing device that Arvin used, I was actually happy that it moved by at a brisk pace, because when you're set in an interrogation room, I think that it would be, I don't know how long the physical book is because I've never read the physical. Um, but when you're reading, I think Aaron was telling me that the audiobook was only like 4 hours or something. So that felt like a nice length of time for being with the framing device used. If he had come at it with a different framing device, I think it could have been longer. But even I think As Far as You'll Take Me or whatever, Phil Stamper's second book has a similar premise to How It All Blew Up. It's not exactly the same, but they are, I would say, they're spiritual cousins. And I think that book is also fairly short. So I don't know what these authors are doing. Yeah, exactly. I understood like why it was being used, and I understood that it was like a plot device, but I'm just like, are people really getting blackmailed like this though? Like, is this really a pressing concern for the children? Like, to me, there is bullying and there is like abuse that you suffer at school, and then there are people who are like trying to extort money out of you, so they don't reveal secret like that. that I felt was a little odd. And then his rationale, because he wanted to pay for community college, like community college. I've been to a community college. Community college is not that expensive where I would need to extort people to be able to afford the tuition. So this is like the most fancy community college in the world, where he's just trying to find excuses for his behavior. But I could have lived without that particular plot line. Again, I understood that it was needed for a plot device, but I feel like blackmail as a plot device is a little bit overdone. Exactly. Like, this was a child who was very clearly in over his head in a lot of ways, and I could understand feeling hurt that somebody lied to you, but I also think that it was a little bit, to me it's very different when you meet somebody that you do not know and you are assuming they're telling you the truth and you find out that it is a lie, versus someone who you have known for a long time lying to you. So I can understand like how your whole relationship being built on a lie could be hurtful, but I also think at the same time that when you are meeting a stranger and you are expecting this stranger to kind of just open up to you, like, that is a little bit of a level that I don't really know if I would expect. I don't know if I would expect this strange child that I just met in this random bar in Italy to open up and tell me the 100% God's honest truth. I would expect there to be layers to that. And so again, I do think that was more of just Jahan being the person who was looking for a way to milk the drama, who was trying to he was there was like a lot going on with Jahan that we just did not get because the book was not about him. And I think that if the book had been about him, I don't know if it would have been more interesting, but I think it would have been easier to understand like where he was coming from. Because to me, I do think it's a little odd that you would expect this stranger that you just met to open up and tell you the complete honest truth, and not lie to you. The length of the book could have been more interaction with the friend group and Valero. Yeah, I think that Valero was probably the the best part of the people he met in Italy, because I did appreciate their date. I did appreciate when they met up at like the pizzeria when Amir's family came to Rome. Like, I think that he had a lot going on, more so than the rest of the friend group did. Maybe Neil was kind of fleshed out a little bit. So I could have had more, but I also think with the framing device, there's definitely a balance there. Because if you're reading Amir's chapters and they're going on for forever and ever and ever, and we're still supposed to be in this interrogation room, I do think that there was a balance there that you were going to have to strike with at some point. Even though we don't really get the perspective of the, you know, the detaining people, whatever they're called, the marshal. I think it's like the U.S. Marshals, Custom and Border Enforcement, whoever pulls people off planes, ICE. I don't know. There would be a point in that chapter where realistically that are like he would get cut off. Like, so for me, I could understand why the chapters were structured in the way that they were, the length that they were, and the detail that we got in them. I think that felt true to the framing device, and it might have felt like, okay, but you're supposed to be in custody, but you are rambling on about all this insignificant stuff. So I think that we got a lot of the insignificant stuff, but because of the framing device, there was just inherently going to be things that are going to be cut out, which is why I think that this could work really well as an adaptation, because I think that even with the framing device of being interrogated or whatever, I think you could still cinematically, you could get more of this nuanced interaction that I don't say it fell flat on the page, but it was harder to execute. And so I think that he executed it as best as he could. Yes, I did really love the relationship with the parents. Thought the parents and Amir It was really great. I think my favorite though was his sister. I liked his sister and the parents. That relationship also felt really real. And I appreciated that his sister and his mom were in the same room, because then we got more of those interactions and we could really understand the family dynamics that were at play, because we didn't really, there were like a handful of scenes with them all together. And those scenes, they were still, they were tense and emotionally charged because Amir was not trying to go home yet. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was just, I understood it, but it was also like, I don't know if this is really the movie you think it is, sir. And then even if it is the movie that you think it is, I don't think you should be doing this. It's a little silly. She was a multi-talented person. Like she is the musical lead. She out here a private investigator. What can't she do? See, this I kind of like go in like and out on. I mean, did she technically, was she wrong for it? I don't know if I would really, I don't know if I would say that she was wrong for that one. I mean, maybe she was, but again, I've never been in that situation. And I think that this situation was definitely very different. But for me, I wouldn't say she was wrong on that one, but it was a choice. She was the chapter. Yeah, it was. I'm like, this book just, it hit where it needed to hit every time. I look, like, for me, I think that what I have done it, I don't know. But I'm not going to fault a child for doing something when her brother has run away. She has found out information that could lead to where he is, and the reason for that happening. I think that would be, for me, I'm not going to fault the child for that. To me, it's a very different situation than her just waking up one morning and coming down to breakfast and being like, Amir is gay. Like, I think that the context of it matters. And for me, I would not blame Soraya for that. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, I would never go out of my way to do that. But I do think that, one, she is literally a child, barely a teenager. But two, like, the context of the scene, I think, plays into her choice to do this. Because even when we are reading about her doing it, she knows that, like, she is uncomfortable with this choice that she is doing. But it is the only choice that she really, I don't say it's the only choice, but to her it was the only choice to make in that situation. And so I'm not going to go out of my way and tell her that she was wrong for that, because I do think that she knows that this is not something you should do. Like, she is not going to do like what Jake was doing, right? Like, she's not going to go out of her way to blackmail other people in her life or to out other people that she knows. And so I think for her, it was a very situation specific choice that she made. And so it's not something that I would do. But it's also not something I would fault her for or tell her that she was wrong for, because I do like it wasn't callous, it wasn't malicious. Like, she understood the ramifications that were going to happen. So again, for a child, I'm not going to go out of my way and be like, you're a horrible person, because again, you're a child. So hated that for her, hated that for Amir. But here we are. I would like to. I don't. The book does not need a sequel, but I would, like I said, I would appreciate the adaptation because I would like to follow this man. I would like a couple of seasons. Just want to see where he's at. I would like to see it. If other books that don't need sequels can get sequels, then this can get a sequel. I did get it, but the parents, I get it, but didn't this parents back Amir looked right because his father's being transphobic and homophobic? I mean, those actions were in the past. So like when his father's being homophobic and transphobic, those were like comments that Amir was like, he latched on to those moments as to why he felt that he could not come out. But those weren't things that happened like immediately before he left. Like he left because he was being blackmailed. And so he was originally, like he said, he was going to go to New York for a couple of days, but then his parents heard him in the airport. And so then he could not, I mean, I think he could have hidden in New York. I don't think he needed to add on the bit of international travel, but for this storyline where they were detained coming off the plane. Although I think that if you cause a ruckus, even on like just a flight, like a normal flight, you could be, I don't know. I've never been detained on a flight. But so like that's why I think that's the real reason we had this layer of international travel. Also, Rome was just really fun. And I don't know if, I mean, you could have found the same kind of cast of characters in New York that we did in Rome, but it was just nice to be in Rome, so I'm not gonna be mad about it. But his father did say those things, but those were not things that happened immediately before he left. So I don't like, and I don't think the parents really like, maybe his mother. I don't know if I needed the parts where like his mom was talking about how there was this gay boy in Tehran that she knew and then they moved away, or how his father had like been mean to his gay lab partner and trying to reconnect on Facebook. Like those scenes to me, I didn't think that I needed, because I didn't think that his parents were like, they were actually, even in the moments where Amir was deducting points from his scoreboard as to why he felt that he couldn't, none of those were like, oh, his parents are just like gonna send him to conversion therapy if he comes out to them. Like they just felt like the kind of parents who did not even consider the possibility of their child being gay. And so it would be a stretch for them. And they had, you know, it was just not something they had considered previously, but they weren't going to like attack him for it. So I don't know if I needed those scenes, but like this, like his dad did say things, but I think that he said them in the way that a lot of parents say them, but they aren't like actually going to try to like hurt you over it. Yeah, his job editing those Wikipedia pages, I thought that was interesting a little bit. I did think it was also a little bit weird. I'm happy that I did not have to spend a lot of time with him doing those because, again, it was weird. Excuse me. Yes, I need it. I would like to. I mean, I would prefer the TV show, but if I have to get the movie, I will take the movie. I think it would be really fun to watch. I would love to see it. Although maybe I wouldn't, because like I said, I was really here for Amir and Jackson, but that's not really the love story in the book. It's really, you know, it's not even like I would say a romance in the book. But Amir and Valerio, that was, I think, who I was supposed to be going for. But I did appreciate that Amir ended the book, I guess, single, technically. Not that we get any kind of insight as to how that all wrapped up. I mean, I don't know who I would even want to cast for this. I would have a hard time. Like, I couldn't cast it, but I would assume that most of it would be unknown actors, and that's fine with me because like I said, it would probably work better as a movie, but I like Amir so much that I really appreciate when adaptations go beyond the source material, which is why I prefer a television show. Because like it's cute to see the things that I know, but I like the character. And so I want to see him move on with his life. Like I would love to see like sure this moment, but I also want to see him after this. Like I would love to know where Amir eventually, like, did he go to college? Like what did he do after all of this went down? So for me, I think that would be the more interesting aspect than just seeing everything that I read about like happen, because what I read about happening would be like, again, it would be movie length, which is fine, but I would just like more. Okay, I did read that one, but I think that I've said almost about everything that I have to say. So I'm going to start winding this down and give it a couple of more minutes. I'll try to end this at 30. So just to recap, we'll be reading like the side characters. I mean, I think that the side characters could really be developed in a movie, but I'd also be okay with like never seeing them again. So maybe a mini series would be fine. But I don't like mini, like I like binging things, and you can only binge a mini series but one time because then the show is over. So it's a it's a double-edged thing for me. But I will take the adaptation however I can get it because it's not my money to spend. Not my money. We will be reading Yoke probably sometime in the fall because we are going to read Firekeeper's Daughter next, like I was saying earlier. We have until August, the end of August, to read that. I do not like. We might read Anna Kay, but I don't want to ask people to read a sequel if we didn't read. Like if there was a sequel to How It All Blew Up, we could read that. And I'm not gonna ask people to read the sequel to Of Curses and Kisses. I know that's gonna be a series, but that first book was so bad. Or if there was like Grown 2, although again, that book, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do that. Or there was like a Parachutes too. Or like we did Love Boat Taipei, right? There's gonna be a sequel to Love Boat. Like things like that, I would be like, okay, sure, let's read the sequel. But because we never read Anna Kay, I would hate to ask people to read a sequel to a book that I don't know they've read. Yeah, I don't need a sequel to Grown. I don't need I don't think anybody needs that. Whew, no thank you. I don't need to see like well, I guess there couldn't be because that man he died. So that would be an awkward sequel. Let's read Anna Kay first. Yeah, that we could do. We could do like an Anna Kay and then Anna Kay away at some point in the future. Yeah, that book. I don't think anyone liked that book. That book was so bad. After that review, I would not want to. I would actually probably cry if I was asked to read a Grown 2. But again, like that man is dead. So it would probably be like some weird convoluted time skip where Enchanted had a daughter and her daughter got pulled into something. And I don't think anybody needs that. It is required reading. But like I said, we could probably do Yoke in like for September, but again, like for the fall, because I'm going away to the wilderness in a couple of weeks. And so I will not be out of the wilderness until August. And so I don't want to schedule lives for the summer when I don't know what the internet quality connection status is going to be. So we will have from today, today is the 9th of May until the live show date in the end of August, which will probably actually be in August because we'll have had a couple of months to read Firekeeper's Daughter by it was Angeline Booley. I believe that is correct. So that will be the next book. There's plenty of time to read it. So hopefully it'll come in to your library within this massive window. Because it's a popular book. So I'm assuming there are holds on it. And I'm assuming that there will be there'll be a wait for that. But we will do Yoke, I guess, in September. You literally just got that book. You love to see it. You love to see it. And then we'll do Yoke in September. And October, I don't know what we'll do in October, but I will think about it. And I will try and get that graphic out this week, some point. Maybe next week, because I have next week off. Not the week after next week. I was saying next week, but some people don't start their weeks on Sunday. So just to be perfectly clear, but we've been here for 30 minutes. I enjoyed talking with everyone about how it all blew up. I'm happy most people seem to enjoy it. There was, again, like for me, the benchmark is always going to be of Curses and Kisses. So even though we had people giving it 3.5, like I will take it, because I don't think anyone felt the same way they did about Of Curses or even Grown. I think a lot of people did not like Grown either. So at least it was fun, it was light, it was short. I do know the Firekeepers is supposed to be a thriller. So, and I think somebody is dead. I don't know, again, but I will see all of you around soon at some point in the future. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for reading with me. I'm very much looking forward to reading. Okay, got some books I want to get to you, but okay. The more you know. I will keep an eye out for it. Thanks for being here. I'll see you guys again soon. I'll be on Twitter, so if you really need to connect with me, you can find me there. But I'll see you guys for sure in August to talk about Firekeepers. I clicked on a bookmark and did not end it, so that was fun. That's what happened there.